As many of you probably know, I really love sports games. So when I saw NBA 2K20 on sale for 385 yen, that's roughly $3.50 USD, I saw this on the Japanese eShop, I just jumped on the chance to pick up the game. Now, every NBA offseason since 2018, I've picked up all of the NBA 2K games on the Switch, focusing on playing through mainly the MyCareer mode. Now, while the mechanics of the series are super solid, I've always found that the pace of the progression of the game was glaciered. It's super slow. Of course, 2K would graciously allow players to build their play quickly by offering in-game VC, virtual currency, to boost your players to superstar levels for a price. But is this progression a problem in NBA 2K20? Danny from the Famicast here. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and of course sit back and relax, because today we're taking a look at NBA 2K20 on the Switch. Now, I'm focusing mainly on the MyCareer mode here, but we'll also take a look at some of the other elements that make this either a must-have or something that you should leave on the store shelf. Now, the first thing I do every time I pick up an NBA 2K game is to get straight into the MyCareer mode, creating my character and then picking up with what the year's story has to offer. Now, of course, you can do whatever you like in this respect. You can make a character that looks like you or somebody completely different. Now, a cool feature that made its return here is the ability to scan your face into the game. Now, this has been done in other series with varying degrees of success. Now, while the process here isn't necessarily hard to do, all you need is a smartphone and an app so you can do this, the results here are mediocre at best. I even went as far to scan my face outside, like in natural sunlight and stuff, using the rear camera of my phone with my wife helping me, but still, I ended up looking like a bit of a monster. Now, maybe I gave myself too much credit in the looks department, or maybe it's just a problem limited to the Switch version. Still, I've found that creations look a little bit weird here. I won't spoil the story in this mode here for MyCareer. I mean, you could actually download a free demo to get a taste of it if you like, actually. But, I do find myself enjoying it this year a bit more than what I've done with previous stories. Now, here you start out in college in a tournament game, and you have to make some tough decisions based around one of your teammates. Now, the cool part in this mode is that this decision, it carries into the commentary into future games. While playing 2, you also have to do things like address the media or deal with unruly fans, maybe saying that you suck or whatever. The way that you tackle these interactions is totally up to you. Now, I'm going to be honest, gameplay might be a bit tough for those coming into NBA 2K for the first time, or for those of you out there that might have taken a break from the series for a number of years. You can't simply just drive to the basket and dominate like you could in the games of yesteryear, like on a 64 or Super Nintendo or something like that. 2K20 even encourages you to be more of a team player here with this grading system that translates into virtual currency, VC. Now, even if you can't score tons of points, you'll net VC for assists, blocks, steals, and many other in-game actions. So it pays off here to be deliberate with what you're doing on the court. Now, the VC you earn can be used to upgrade your character's statistics, and also to buy in-game items that make your character look cool up the court, if you're into that. Obviously, focusing on making your player better should be the key. The better you are, the more potential you have for earning VC in games or when you're doing practices or stuff like that. Of course, starting out with a pretty terrible overall rating in MyCareer mode makes this mode just overall a bit tough, but I'd say if you stick with it, you're going to find the game getting a little bit easier the more that you play, due to your overall rating getting higher and just, obviously getting more experience with the game. Now, when I played NBA 2K18 and NBA 2K19, the progression did seem a little bit slow, particularly with NBA 2K18. Now, with that game, I put like nearly 60 hours in before I called it quits, but, from the start until the time I quit, my creative player went from around a 60 overall rating to 70 in 60 hours. Now, for 2K20, up to this point right now, I've played for about 10 hours, and I've seen my player jump from a 60 to a 71. That's quite a bit better, but I know that this can still be a slog for some, but it definitely feels a lot better than what it has in the past. Now, a newly implemented badge system, something that they introduced in 2K20, this also helps out with various aspects of the game. So, for instance, I used a shooting badge called Flexible Release, which makes it easier to time your shots. Now, this is extremely helpful when you're starting out, because your shooting is probably going to be pretty awful, so every little bit of help is welcome here. NBA 2K20 relies heavily on online connectivity, even while playing in MyCareer mode. So when you're not playing games, you could roam around something called the neighborhood, which is kind of like a hub with various shops, training activities, and also a portal for online play against other players. Personally, I'm not really interested in any of the online multiplayer here, but It should be noted that since the game relies heavily on this connectivity, like let's say if you're to put your Switch into sleep mode mid-game, 2K20 will lose connection to the internet and your progress will be lost for that game. So that's something to keep in mind when you're playing. Now there is a bit of a workaround with the ability to save and quit, but still this is something that it needs to be addressed but probably won't. I'm just glad that they do have the save and quit ability here, but just keep that in mind if you're trying to quit and just go into sleep mode or something, because that might end up kind of screwing you. Like I mentioned before, I spent pretty much all of my time with the game up to this point playing MyCareer. Now, if you're not into that, there are quite a few other options here when it comes to modes. There's My Team, where you can basically build up your team of dream players and stuff. There are a variety of ways to play online against others. There are WNBA teams to choose from, classic teams to play as, and a whole lot more. I mean, there's really a lot to dig into here. Visually, 2K20 looks pretty good on the Switch. Now, I will say if you're coming from playing on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One and you're looking for, handheld play, I mean, hey, you're going to get that, but you will notice some differences in terms of visual fidelity. While faces, I think they look pretty realistic overall, you will notice things like the basketball shorts and the jerseys, like they don't have any movement to them like you would see in the versions on the more powerful consoles. Now, what we have here are kind of like static buckets just kind of hanging around the player's legs. Now, it's not a deal breaker, but it's kind of hard for me to unsee. Now, also, the game here runs at 30 frames a second compared to 60 frames a second on the more powerful consoles. Now, even with that said, I mean, the game does run pretty smoothly. I haven't really seen any dips in the frame rate or anything like that. And if you don't really care about playing the best-looking version of a pro basketball game, you won't have any problems with playing this on the Switch. Presentation here is also top-notch. You get pre-game shows, on-court reports, and a great variety when it comes to the commentary here. The hip-hop soundtrack for the game, on top of this, really kind of brings it together. Now, the only bummer here is that you can't use the capture button in the game. It's completely disabled. So if you want to share your awesome plays with the world, you're going to need some external capture equipment here. NBA 2K20 on the Switch is a great game fundamentally. It's a realistic simulation-style basketball game that really does have a lot to offer. Now, if you're new to the series or haven't played a basketball game in a long time, you're going to likely find the game pretty difficult to get into. I mean, if you can get good, you can definitely have a good time with the game. At this point in time, with another version surely to come out in 2020, you probably won't want to pay top dollar for this version of the game, but if you can find it on sale, it's definitely worth having in your Switch library, just as long as you have the 41 gigabytes plus of space for it. My final score for NBA 2K20 on the Nintendo Switch, based mainly on MyCareer mode, 8.5 out of 10. As always, thanks for checking out this video. If you like what you see, please feel free to give us a like. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. We got tons of podcasts, video reviews, special videos, and a whole lot more. Again, this is Danny from the Famicast. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.
That's good for his third bucket. Now 3 for 6 from the field.